Good morning. Hi, I'm Frank Messina, and this is the April 1st, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. Before we begin, have a few announcements. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please notify the chairman. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023, signing of acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A-20, until June 30th, 2027. Here we go, guys. They're going to continue this thing. This meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to the meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID 170-223-340, hashtag, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this meeting is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. So, 2027, we're still in the business here of being online. Okay, first order of business is the roll call. Bob Lear.
Here.
Nancy Barr. Nancy has been calling in from her.
Sandy was going to call in too. I don't know.
I guess Nancy is not yet online. Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Sandy Porter. Same with Sandy. Okay. Janet Tennyson.
Here.
Robert Stevens. And Robert Wilson.
Here.
Okay. So we have 3 members of MIA. But we do have, and the chair is here, but we do have a quorum, and we proceed. Every time I look at this piece of paper, I remind members of the public, the 2 people who are listening, in addition to the applicant, that we do have an open position for the Historical Commission, and like you to consider joining us. Thank you very much. All right, we have a relatively short agenda. We'll do the minutes next, and a few things to discuss, but we have a straightforward agenda. We have the minutes of March 18, 2025. I assume everybody has had a copy and has a chance to look at it. I have one comment, Annie. On page 2, the second paragraph down, the last sentence in that paragraph, the Nickerson Association has has already committed to make a donation to this process. They haven't donated yet. We're still waiting for a discussion between myself and Katie in terms of the funding necessary to proceed, but we'll talk about that. Any other questions or comments, corrections on the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes from March 18th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Failed to mention, Robert Stevens is an alternate, but because of the absence of regular members, he will be participating and voting as a regular member.
Robert Wilson.
Robert Wilson, what did I say?
Stevens.
Too many Roberts, too many Bobs. Okay, sorry about that, Mr. Wilson. Okay, again, we have one hearing, one application. The application is 20005 to be heard in accordance with Chapter 158. The address is 255 Old Harbor Road, and this is a change to a previous the decision that we had made, this property is on the National Register, excuse me, is not on the National Register, but there is a Form B on this property. The discussion here today is relative to the front porch, and there is some discussion. So the applicant is online, or the applicant's representative. So why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us quickly what you are proposing to do? Peter?
They were there, they're there.
You're muted. We can't hear you. Press the microphone. You know, we're continuing this thing to 2027. It's a real pain,
Yeah,
let me tell you.
it really is, yeah.
You're still not here. Hold on.
They're unmuting themselves, but we still can't hear them.
Say again?
They're muted.
They're not muted.
Oh, they're
That's
not
not the
muted.
problem. They have a bigger technical issue on their end.
Oh,
Can they call in?
You know, what I would like you to do, because we would like to proceed with this, but we can't hear you. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with Christina when she told me this thing is continued to 2027. Can you hear me? Shake your head if you can hear me. Yes, okay. I was telling Christina that at some point, the chair is going to say, we don't have good communication, we're going to adjourn this meeting. But what I'd like you to do, being you can hear me, is call in on the phone. And the number is 508-945-4410. Is that correct, Annie? Yes. You got that? So if you call in,
and then they have to put the conference ID in.
And just let them know they do not need,
Oh, they
we
don't-
don't need to see them if they want to.
Oh, okay.
yeah, we can just, if you could talk to us. We don't need to see you. Is the technical problem on our end or their end?
Our end.
Their end,
Oh. I thought he said it was on our end.
Yeah.
it is not on our end. He
When
has
he-
to put
when
an
he-
ID in,
When he calls in, will we hear them?
yes.
Needs an ID number.
Yep, so we need to put the conference ID number in.
You need to put the conference ID in when they ask for it.
The conference ID and the phone number are in the chat if you want to look on your screen.
I wonder if the town has an option not to do this online or not.
Can we require people to come to the meeting?
Say again?
Can we require people to come to the meeting when they have?
I don't
a
know. We'll have to ask
proposal?
maybe our select board representative whether we have that option of requiring an applicant to come to the meeting.
Because we have so many technical difficulties with, you know, pushing the button or whatever.
Well, I can't say for certain, but obviously today you've advertised this as a hybrid meeting, I believe. So I think
Yes.
you're kind of stuck with that for today.
Yeah.
But going forward, I think, my gut tells me you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would check with
Yeah,
our manager's office.
because we're having a little
You
technical.
can't hear them, is that the story?
Yeah. In fact, I was even thinking about that at some point, because we have some terrible communication, as chair, I could say, I'm going to adjourn this meeting because we don't have proper communication. I think it's valid, because we
No,
can't
you
hear
can
them.
do that. You could do that.
Yeah,
I mean, you have some other items that are not
right, exactly. Oh, yeah,
case-related. You
sure.
might deal with those and reschedule this.
Excuse me, you guys can hear me, right? So you're calling in and it's not working?
Excuse me, Frank, we want to move on to the discussion items and give them a couple minutes?
Can they participate by phone, or is that going
That's
to
what
be?
we're trying to do.
Can't even do that.
you're trying on the phone and it's not working? You know, it's funny, I watched a movie about Helen Keller the other night. Shouldn't kid around. You know, in some ways, we might be able to proceed. Can't get the ID to go through.
You could ask them to leave the meeting and come back in. That's
Okay.
a possibility to solve their issue.
We're getting some information from our technical people. What you should do is leave the meeting. In other words, leave the meeting and then sign in again and try that. Okay? All right. So we're going to just take a brief respite here with this application hearing at one, I don't think anybody objects to it. And we have a couple of other things we could talk about quickly under old business, and hopefully we'll have a connection. The first item in old business is the review of commission rules and regulation. The issue of administrative approval, the possible delegation of the issue of historical significance. Interesting, I had a call from an attorney on that very subject on an applicant that's coming. It just turned 75, and, you know, and I did indicate to him, what we're going to share now, is we have requested through the Director of Community Development, Ms. Donovan, an opinion from Town Council whether or not we can delegate the process of historical significance. The issue has been, from our interpretation of the current bylaw, only the commission can determine whether something is historically significant. And that's not the case with other towns. They delegate that to other elements, other people, to staff, for instance, or to a consultant. And the reason we want to do that for the public here is that we have situations where an applicant is almost clearly not historically significant, but it does meet the criteria of 75 years of age. And we're spending a lot of time and money for both the applicant and the town in having hearings for these things. So that's where we are. The other element of review is the issue of potentially limiting the continued request for an applicant for continuance. This was brought about by maybe one or two applicants who continue to ask for continuances, and we do that. And I asked Mr. Lear, our vice chair, if he wanted to take a shot at drafting some words. Bob, what is your comments on that?
Well, the section in our current regulations,
Oh.
sorry. The section in our current regulations says an applicant may, for any reason, request a continuance of the hearing to a future date prior to the commencement of the hearing. That has to be in writing. An applicant may also request a continuance at any time during a hearing. So the regulations seem to say, or they don't say anything about the board or the commission turning down the request for continuance. Now, obviously, there may be a basis for it, but it's what situation we're aiming at. And the other factor, I think, is a practical matter. Most of the continuance are suggested by the commission that the applicant come back with a different plan. And they have to acquiesce to that continuance because they're the only ones that can request the continuance. But I don't know whether we can draw a line that says any request for continuance that we don't like can be turned down or whatever, because it doesn't seem to automatically follow from that. Or
I guess
if we're saying you're wasting our time, we're not going to allow you to do that again.
Well, no, I mean, you know, I don't believe the issue is wasting our time or the town's time. I think the issue, and I think Christina and I talked about it, is the fact that public notice, you know, when there's an applicant for a significant change to a historic structure or a contributing structure, National Register National Register District, you know, the drawings are made available to the public. The public has an opportunity to come and to comment, and sometimes you know, it's a very important application, and there's a lot of public comment. Now, if in fact the changes that are being discussed are so significantly different than what the public doesn't really, the only way the public knows that something is going on is if they tune into the meeting and know that there's a continuance. And do we have any kind of obligation to keep the public informed that an applicant is completely different than what was originally proposed? And now, for instance, if I understand the regulations, Christina, when an applicant, people are notified within a certain number of feet of the applicant?
That is correct, 50 feet.
50 feet. But they're not notified again if they have to listen to the meeting to know what's going on.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. That was the only issue, Bob, that I thought about, maybe that, you know, or maybe the criteria is for us to decide that your revised application that you're asking us to continue is so significantly different than the original one, we feel that we should start the process over again and submit a new application with public notice, et cetera, et cetera.
Would that require them to pay for a new notice?
Well, that was a good question. You know, I don't know, maybe we'll give them a discount, but I wasn't gonna address that. I was gonna address the process.
Well, I think that that the problem you described is legitimate, particularly since if, as you say, if the person didn't come to or watch the first hearing, they wouldn't know that it's happening again unless they looked at the agenda that shows up in the Chronicle or whatever method.
It doesn't really show up in the Chronicle. We only advertise it once.
No, but the agenda that comes out,
It doesn't advertise the Chronicle. It's posted online, but not in the Chronicle.
all right, I know, I understand, but it is a way to
Legally, you're right.
sort of, it is kind of notice. If you're interested, you should be looking
should
at the
be
town
looking, yeah.
website for the agenda, but who is, you know, who don't even know what week to look in. You'd have to look every week for the next 2
Maybe-
months or something.
Maybe anecdotally, so to speak, but without having to change the rules and regulations, we as a commission can kind of agree that when the changes are so significant that we ask the applicant, we would not like to continue this, we would like you to submit a new application. But, you know, but that puts the onus back on,
Well, what that is, I guess technically that might be consider withdrawing the application.
Withdrawing the
You can't come back for 2 years.
no, we don't have that requirement. This is not the zoning board. If somebody is denied or withdraws an application to the historical commission, I don't think we have, well, maybe I'm wrong, you know, I haven't read the rules and regulations in a while. Do we have a time?
The next, or two paragraphs down from what I just summarized, the commission shall be under no obligation to accept and rehear an application prior to the 2-year expiration of the previous determination,
Termination.
unless there have been substantive changes to the application. So,
Yeah, I guess it's if we make a determination, i.e. deny it,
Right.
then they can't come back next week and get another vote unless they make a substantial change to the application.
right.
All right, maybe we're making much ado about nothing and just leave it the way.
The other just factor to look in there, I checked with some folks on the zoning board, and they don't have anything like you were describing. They say, we're gonna be tough about it. If you want a continuance, you're gonna have to withdraw, that's all, and refile.
Okay. All right.
That's sort of draconian if it's some
Yeah.
not so big thing. but-
Well, is everybody comfortable to leave it as is and we just have to use our own judgment then? Yes. Okay, all right. I see you're back. Do we have communication?
We're here. Can you hear us?
All right, very good. We're back.
Oh, good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we solved the problem, at least the gremlins did. So can they,
Yes.
how does that work? To make them large, we can see them actually? Does it matter?
No, it doesn't.
There you go. Thank you. All right. Okay, last time we left this, we were at the point where we were asking you to say a couple of words. But before you do that, we get two steps in this process. The first step in the process is to determine whether or not this property is historically significant. And if we do, then we can continue. If we don't, then there's no other decisions to be made by the commission. So I guess what I'd like to ask, and I don't think the applicant is going to be objecting to it, unless you are, to continue a motion relative to reaffirming the historical significance of 255 Old Harbor Road.
I move
We
what
agree
you
with
just said.
Okay, so I guess it's my
Second.
motion reaffirming the historical significance, 255 Old Harbor Road. All right, got a second?
Second.
Bob,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes,
Janet,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. All right, I guess it was a good motion. Okay, now you're on. Because give us a quick overview of what you're doing and why you're changing what we previously approved, which was the porches and other changes. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just speak
My
up a
name's
bit.
Peter Picker. I'm here with Wes Fawcett and I are the gentlemen on the job. We've been remodeling this house for the past 3 years on our final steps for completing the job. We were going to originally connect the two lower porches on the front and the side that were never connected. And we got your permission to do so. When we started taking off the front porch, the condition of the framing was rotted so badly that we had to remove it and we're going to rebuild it. When the homeowner noticed, came down and saw that the front porch was off and flooded the inside of the house with light, she loved it. And that's why we're here to take that front portion off, reconstruct the side portion according to the plan in front of you. And again, being a restoration builder, I know that front porch, neither of those front porches were part of the original house. My guess is from the inspection on the framing stock and the nailing, my guess is that porch was put on 80 to 100 years ago. Regardless, with that off, it exposes the original front door in the dining room, which is unique in its work with glass and trim and moldings, which we're going to restore and modify the side porch to accommodate an entry into the kitchen. Basically, that's it.
Okay, we had a site visit yesterday. I guess myself and Robert were there, and hopefully some of you folks got a chance to stop by. We're not new to this property. It's been before us a couple of times. I have to say, quite honestly, just personally, before we get your comments, I was looking at the design as presented, and I did a little bit of research relative to understanding whether that originally big porch in the front was part of it. And it wasn't, when you go back and take a look at some of the history of it. And quite honestly, from my perspective, the elimination of that big porch in the front, kind of enhances the Greek Revival style of the house and that entrance. And also, I'm saying too much, but the putting that side porch on and making it smaller also just seems to fit in. Now I'm becoming an architect. So,
I agree with you.
yeah, okay. Janet?
I agree. I think it's a better, it looks better. And it's not losing the historical integrity, I don't think. Yeah.
Robert?
Much more appealing, yeah.
Yeah.
Good design.
Bob?
I agree with all that. I think the opening it up makes it look both look better and I think fits more with sort of your historical idea of what something like that would
Yeah.
look like.
The Greek Revival House, yeah. It's quite a, impressive structure, and I, would like to thank the owner, for the work that they're doing. And I think they're doing a good job, so I think we kind of, all in violent agreement of allowing this to proceed as it's presented. Having said that, Mr. Lear?
The Chatham Historical Commission also finds the proposed work to be done dated March 3rd, 2025 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose demolition delay.
Second?
Thank you very much. Any other comments, members of the public, for or against? Okay. Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes,
Robert?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Thank you very much. And again, as I said, I really do appreciate the care that this applicant is performing to kind of restore this old Greek Revival house, and appreciate it. One comment I would make to you while you're there, or still on, the Historical Commission every 2 years does what's called a Preservation Award. And quite honestly, the work you guys have done to that house, taking off that old aluminum siding and the detail and the moldings, you've done quite a nice job. But it's something, if work is completed in this year, 2024, and I'm sure you are, because I'm sure the applicant wants you to get out of there. But it's something to consider, and we'll put you on a list when we have, it's an application process. The owner or the builder submits an application for a preservation award, then it's evaluated, and there's no money prize, you get a plaque, that acknowledges the work that you did in the house. We have a little ceremony. But anyway, I just thought about it because it really is a charming Greek Revival, and that is a very historic street. There's a lot of really nice historic homes on that street. Well, again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, and I'd just like to say that we as a team would like to thank Mrs. Cook and her family for allowing us to go to the extremes that we have to restore the house. She's very sensitive about all of it and has taken it very carefully and seriously. So we'd just like to thank her and thank you guys.
Well, again, thank you much. I'm glad we
Okay.
solved the communication problem.
yeah.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yep. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I kind of sidetracked myself with that, but this year, we do, I guess, is it 2024? The awards would be the work commit, we do it in next year.
Yep, so the applications will be ready probably in October and due in January of 2026.
Right,
And then
for-
we'll have them in the spring of 2026.
26. So just anyway, if you could start thinking about houses that we've done in the past and which would be worthy. And I think it's a good process. I think certainly the owners and the builders turn to appreciate that work, and it's great for the town.
And I just wanted to let you know, I already have a list of people that want an application in October.
Oh, good.
Really.
Yes, yeah,
May-
probably 6 or 7.
Maybe we have to have a conversation with Ms. Donovan that we're gonna go back to, I think the current limitation is 5 or 4?
I'm not sure, but we lowered it because we weren't getting as many applications, but I think people are,
It goes, you'll get nothing or we get 10? All right. I believe you are on the committee with me. Yes, you are. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along quickly. I'm gonna set a record. Oh, no, we got 5 minutes. You all received a copy electronically of finally, the determination of eligibility submitted to Mass Historic. In my conversations with Holly Herbster, the PAL archaeologist, she thinks we should get a quick response within 30 days or 60 days, so that would be good. I've already continued discussions with Ms. Donovan, Community Development, relative to the funding necessary. We received a revised, I did give it to you, right? The revised quote from Holly, which to take us to the next phase, for her to prepare the report. I think it's about 10 or 15,000. And So that's, hopefully ongoing, and we'll get that done in this year, 2024, allow us to submit what we're talking about is the Ann and William Nickerson homestead as are listed on the National Register of Historic Places or an historic site. This property is owned by the Chatham Conservation Foundation and Nickerson Family Association have really been providing most of the work to get this thing done. Okay, Form A, Form B. This is the issue of us proceeding with Eric Dre, our preservation consultant, updating the Form As and Form Bs, so I guess the ball's in your court right now?
It is, yeah, we're working on, I've talked to Katie, and we're working on probably getting a meeting together with Eric Dre and seeing
Say it again?
working to get a meeting together with Eric Dre and looking at the next steps.
Okay, good. Demolition by neglect. We're neglecting her. I'm waiting for Christine O'Grady, as town principal planner, to get us some priority on that and provide some kind of a staff report. I sense that she doesn't feel she can or we should, but we need a real heart-to-heart talk with her. I still feel there's something we can do. We shouldn't just ignore it and say, well, it's too difficult. We've never shied away for difficult things, and I don't want to do it on this thing either. My favorite pastime, the Coast Guard Boathouse. The town has actually put out a request for services to hire what's called an OPM, the Owner's Project Manager. And this is for the town to do the work which was authorized by the previous town meeting to put the pilings in at 90 Bridge Street. And when that's done, then we would then move the Coast Guard Boathouse from Quincy and back into to Chatham to be put on those pilings, and for the town then to begin the effort to create or recreate the upweller at that property. It's a big deal, and it's almost 15 or 20 years that I've been involved trying to save that thing, but hopefully bring it back. It's still in fine condition, and it's built to last, and I think will be a really great historical asset for the town at that location, 90 Bridge Street. The current projection of the boathouse is fall 2016 for it to come back. 2016, right. 2026, yeah. I lost 10 years. So that's kind of where we are, staying close to it. That's kind of all I have. The only other thing I just quickly, if I may, on so-called chairman's report, the Penrose, the 1550 Main Street housing development, the 40B project, since they were here making their proposal of the concept, they were at the HBDC. I think we discussed it last time. HBDC had some strong words about its design and the lack of variety in the design and the uniformity of the structures, as well as some very strong comments as to the need for the community center. Since then, they presented to the planning board. The planning board didn't have too many significant comments, in my opinion, and the next step in this process is the so-called comprehensive permit by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Effectively, the Zoning Board of Adjustment acts as the Historical Commission, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board. In other words, they review the applicant considering all the other boards, but there's only one board reviewing it and only one decision. To date, that it's not been scheduled. They have not submitted, they being Penrose, the developer, has not submitted the comprehensive request for a comprehensive permit to the ZBE. Once that happens, I'm hopeful, and I'm sure they will, whether I'm asked or not, they will ask the planning board, the zoning, the historical commission, and the HBDC to provide comments. So I would, like we did the last time, I'll prepare something, send it around, just to reiterate, our comments. Hopefully, when they submit something to the ZBA, it's different than what they presented to us. That, a lot of us been making comments, and the thing that kind of bothered me is what they presented to the planning board, to the historical commission, the ZBA, the HBDC, and to the planning board, there was the same thing. They didn't really make any changes, and it really, they decided to paint the doors different color or something like that. So from my perspective, from historical preservation, a lot more needs to be done to make that fit into the community from a historical perspective. So that's kind of where we are, and we'll stay tuned. Son of a gun. I don't have anything else unless anybody has something else they want to bring up. As Christina indicated, we potentially may not have a meeting on the 15th because we do not have applications. And unless something significant happens, we'll probably skip that meeting. But we do have at least 2 for the following meeting. So having said that, nothing else? Motion for adjournment, please?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay. Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes?
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much.